This is Tsunami West, and you are tuned into the Morning Quanda Show.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Mara Mukunda Show on Salam Media, and we are also live on Facebook. If you have any comments, queries, questions, or suggestions, you can send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061 or you can leave your comments in the comment section below. We are live on Facebook. So it is time for our book review, and today we are reviewing the book titled Strategic Marriage Management by author Margaret Hungwe, who's joining me on the line right now. Good day, Margaret.
Good day, Marianne. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining me. So, what is the book all about? Strategic Marriage Management.
All right. So the book is all about marriage for people who want to get married, young adults who are thinking of getting married at some time later in life, those that are in marriage already, and those that even have been in marriage for so many years. So it's more like you are guiding or teaching on marriage. The reason probably of the title is to say, in the marketplace, we are busy. We are trying to earn our place on the seat. We want to be known. We want to make a mark out there, but our marriages are falling apart. The same effort we are putting in the marketplace is not what we are putting when we come back home. When we get home, we are already tired. There is no more time even with family. So you realize now that marriages are falling apart because we are busy in the marketplace and nothing is happening in the home. So that's what the book is all about.
Mm-hmm. Now, what makes this book different from other books that speaks about marriage and how couples can learn about each other and how couples can manage their marriage? What makes your book different?
All right. So growing up, we can see books written 7 steps to success, 5 steps to
Mm,
success. So for me, when I got this theme and this title of the book, it was much more of the reality of marriage. And myself being in marriage for 17 years, I looked at how I started. I looked at where I am right now, and I realized that if we can only know the simple truth, so the book is centered on what the Bible says about marriage, what God had in the intention on marriage, what He wanted us to have as marriage in marriage. When you look at marriage, you realize that if we have strong homes, we are going to produce also children that have got a strong background and a family foundation in them, such that it continues to the third generation. It's not only for us. Such hints, strategic marriage management. There are so many books out there that talks about marriage, but when you look at the book that I've written, it's talking about everything, be it intimacy. When you talk of intimacy, what is it? What am I talking about? Communication. We look at communication, the definitions of communication, but we talk about effective communication in marriage that actually has got results in making the marriage actually strong. When we talk about children, bringing up godly children, what is it that we are talking about? With children, they don't learn by us telling them what to do. They learn by
mm,
looking at us as parents. And when you look at prayer as a couple, what does that do to a couple when we stand together? When you are consistent in marriage, in whatever that you are doing, you get results out of it. When we look at extended families, some marriages, they actually end up breaking because of there are no boundaries in extended families. So how do you
mm,
bring boundaries in marriage when it comes to extended family? At the same time, honoring the word of God, which says to us, honor your parents for your days to be longer. When the Bible tells us to respect our parents, how do we do so at the same time, making sure that our marriages are still functional? Then also, I look at it as an experience for myself to say, when I went into marriage, my very first year, second year, they were not so rosy because the expectation that I had and what I had been grown, being taught and seeing was so different to what I learned, such that my first years were terrible because I did not realize what it was that I wanted out of marriage. So that is what you expect to see in the book and also the teachings, because sometimes we talk more of it and we don't show people even the experience that we have gone through. Yes, marriages are unique in their own way, but there are some similarities that you see. For an example, you might meet a man that grew up in an environment that didn't give him so much of exposure of being a good husband, such that when they're in their home, they want to continue what they were seeing from their parents or wheresoever that they grew up. But I am saying, yes, that's where you grew up from, but now you are here. How do you preserve your marriage? How do you make your marriage much better, such that other people that look at you, they will say this is a good marriage to emulate?
Wow, you've just said a whole lot, a mouthful there. In there, a lot of advice and inspiration. Now, are we going wrong? Where are we going wrong as couples, as individuals, and do we fall into marriage blindly and having a lot of expectations, which is the reason of many divorces that is currently taking place? I mean, we are seeing a lot more divorces, especially in the Black community. So where are we going wrong?
So also it's also to do, you brought in a word that is actually good: expectations. We go into marriage expecting so much from a spouse which we ourselves are not able to give. It doesn't work like that. You go into a marriage 100% fully committed, and when you go in a marriage, you are saying to yourself, I am fully committed. I am leaving everything else and focusing on marriage. So usually what ends up happening in marriage is that we want to live other people's lives. Social media sometimes has got so much of impact. You can see Margaret, she is checking in Dubai or so ever, while I'm in Pretoria, just for keeping up appearances. So you take it into your own home to say, no, I saw Margaret with your family, they are in Dubai, while they're in Matuba somewhere there. And then you are bringing that expectation into your home, which you can't meet. Then we also have this keeping up with the Johns. We need to have a big house. We need to have this type of a car. We need this, which we cannot even also afford. And when we bring it, there's so much tension in the home. Then you look at issues to do with finances, whereby you realize in a marriage, you are graced differently. The reason of that grace is to make it work for both of you. You can't be at the same level. You will find that in a marriage setup, your husband might be the minister of finance and you are the spender. So in there, how do you manage it to work for you when it comes to finances? Then you might also realize in a marriage setup, the other spouse is more into wanting to educate further themselves. The other one is just into managing what is happening in the home. So if you don't realize your strength in marriage, you will compete. How does a couple that are saying that we are one, that says that they are actually living to cleave together, become competitors in a marriage? So when there is competition, it means that marriage is not going to stand. Or when we are having communication issues, when we are to talk, the other part doesn't want to talk because they do not want to fight. It's not fighting, Abby. I am saying, let's talk, let's iron out issues. Then the other one, when we go into our bedroom, that's where we want to have a court case, right? And maybe the setup had been set up already for intimacy. Now, when we start to say, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, it's like now it's a transactional relationship. Now, intimacy is affected, right? When it's affected, another spouse might do this, go to work, go into the marketplace, they find a listening ear in a form of another male or a woman who is just there to listen. When they open up that person, because they have no background of what has been happening, they will listen, offer advice, sympathize with you. So you as a spouse, now, do you know the mistake you do? You think that, oh, this person who is giving you advice or sympathizing with you is more understanding than your spouse. Feelings starts to emanate from there. So these are some of the things that we end up seeing in marriages that impact the marriage. Also in other instances, where there is intrusion from extended family, we want to please more of our extended family than our wife. So what happens is, because of the way we grew up, parents sometimes might bring this guilty conscience to say, no, I took you to school, we were struggling, we were doing this, now you are saying I shouldn't interfere in your marriage. But Mama, Daddy, I understand you are my parents, but now I am cleaving to my spouse to make a life of our own. So if there is no balance, there is no boundaries, they impact the marriage negatively.
Wow. Now, there's always this sort of like 5-year rule to say that couples should survive the first 5 years of marriage, and once they survive the first 5 years of marriage, then it's easy sailing or smooth sailing. But you do find couples who have been married for 10, 20 years, and then all of a sudden they fall out of love, and they no longer love each other. They no longer want to be together. So, what happens in such a case? Because I mean, we've followed the 5-year rule. We have been married for six years, going on 7, and we're looking for 10 years, etc. But then all of a sudden, we lose the plot along the way.
So the danger is falling in love. I can fall in love with you now and fall out of it in the next 2 minutes because I allowed myself to fall into it. So marriage is not about that. You realize the first 5 years were all rosy. We were on our honeymoon period. Then all of a sudden it changes. It's because you did not grow in the marriage. You actually realize that actually love gets more deeper as you move along the marriage. Love alone is not going to sustain a marriage. For an example, my husband would probably marry me for my looks, my body, my hips, my curves, and all those things. 5, 10 years down the line, I have got 3 kids. The stomach has bulged, stretch marks. I mean, everything else is growing, even my weight, right? Is he still going to fall in love with me? Because he fell in love with a size 30 with a size 30 lady some years ago. Now I'm size 40. So if it is about that, is that going to be sustainable? No. So marriage, you work it every day. You are conscious of what you are doing. For an example, if we look at the 5-year period, you are fine. You have probably got 1 kid. All is well. 10 years down the line, things are now changing. For an example, we can look at what is happening currently. Let's look at lockdown. We've been counseling couples right now, counseling couples that actually want to divorce because they realize they've nothing in common, because they've been under lockdown, staying together in the house. They've nowhere to go. They are seeing the same people. They wake up in the morning, they see them, the same people evening. And then you realize that, so was this still marriage? Were they working on it? You know, when you wake up under lockdown, you no longer feel like I don't belong in this family. So that is the falling in love. It's not sustainable. Love grows. It gets sweeter and sweeter every day as you grow together. But how? You are conscious of what you are doing as a spouse. You are consistent in the way you love. When there are disagreements, you speak about them. You iron out issues. You don't bottle them. That one day you just wake up and you go like, no, you know what? I am done. It's because you've been bottling issues. There's been no effective communication. So now the falling love is no longer sustaining you at all.
Now, how has your book been received by your fans as well as the critics?
So far, I haven't gotten any critics because it actually came out last week. So I really look forward to hear different views from people. The ones that have gone, that have bought and that have received the book, the reviews are quite so good because I'm getting reviews from both the husband and wife. Because my advice to them is read it together, such that it helps you both, not only one. Because that's the other thing that we see in couples, and one spouse is empowered and the other is not fully empowered. So that impact now, there's that destabilization. So I'm saying read it together and see how it works for you. So I'm quite happy with the reviews that I'm getting currently, and I pray that I'll be able also to get some critics towards the book, because that is all what it is all about for our empowerment in marriages.
And since you say that couples should read together, is it like an instruction manual, or how do we read it? Do we read this chapter and then we look at each other and try to work on what we have found out about each other, about the chapter that we have just read, or how do you do it?
So it's dependent, because also couples are unique. You find also others that are actually saying, I'm so lazy to read, can we get an audio book, which I'm working on? But for me, I am saying, as a couple, when you first read, for example, a chapter, Naked and I'm Not Ashamed, right? What is it talking about? There is so many issues to do with sexual intimacy, right? You'll find that even in churches, sometimes at the pulpit, we don't talk about sexual intimacy because it's kind of embarrassing to speak to, right? So if you read as a wife, the husband should also read, depending on on your strength in the marriage. That should we read separately or read together? But at the end of the day, it will be ideal for you to discuss a chapter together. Why? Because, for example, let's look at issues to do with extended family. It might be that it's the husband's side family that are dominating. So how does the wife now come to tell you that, Abby, I've read this and it's saying? Because at the end of the day, they do not want to fight to say, oh, so you're talking about my family, right? So it is to say, I have read now extended family. Can you also now go and read? After reading, can we discuss? Such that now you can sit to say, okay, I think this is where we were failing, and this is what we are going to do from now on together as a couple.
All right. And quickly tell us, where can we buy your book? I know a lot of people will be interested in this one.
All right, so the book is on Amazon. You can go on Kindle, you can buy it from there. And I am actually, for now, I am busy delivering books to those that want hard copies, because I'm finding others that say, you know what, Max, we would rather have a hard copy that we can underline and make notes on. So for those that actually want a hard copy, they can contact me. I'm sure I'll send in my details so that you can actually contact me and I can do deliveries. Or even
right.
Korea, because I've been couriering even in places like your Eastern Cape and all that. So you can just contact me and then we can send you the book.
And now with the level 3 lockdown, it's much easier to do and couriering. So, and
Sure.
then lastly, what advice would you like to give to couples and also to people who want to write? Because I know it can be very daunting for somebody to just start writing a book, thinking about all the challenges that they have to go through, etc.
All right, writing a book, it's not so easy, but I strongly believe that it's to do with passion. When you are passionate about something, it simply comes easily. But what's needed now is the discipline to say, I need to write this. Because, for an example, I'm seeing people who are saying, oh, Max, you have written a book. Do you know I've been wanting to write a book for the past 3 years? So do it now. There's no better time. Just simply sit down and write your book now and finish it. Never have this procrastinating spirit whereby you write a chapter, you forget about it, and then after 5 months you go into it. Do so now, and now is the time. And it's never easy, but where there is passion, you will find the way to do so. Then in terms of those that are in marriage is sweeter, especially if you understand your position as a wife, understand your position as a husband, the leader of the home, the king of the house. How do you lead your home? You as a helpmate, a wife, how do you assist? How do you help in your home? It gets sweeter as you understand your roles and know that you can only build your marriage on the foundation, and that foundation is Jesus Christ.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. And hopefully I can get a copy of the book as well.
Sure.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you so much, Mary Marilla. I appreciate this time.
It's a pleasure. Right, that was Margaret Hungwe, the author of Strategic Marriage Management, and our book review for today. Well, she will send us all the information on how you can get a copy of the book, but it is available on Amazon as well as Kindle. If you want the hard copy, we will share the details with you over WhatsApp. And yeah, well, a lot of advice she's given there about marriage, and I can't wait to read the book as long as I get it. But just stay with us. We will be back after the break.